Right, if you look at the colour theory, colour mixing film that's on LMS, you will see how to mix numerous colours using the primaries and white. Now, remember, if you use more water, you can get different tonal values. So, the amount of water and also the mixture that you use is important. So if I add obviously a lot of water to the ultramarine blue, you're going to get a very thin transparent wash. If I use less water, the colour's much stronger and much more vibrant, as you can see. So like any recipe, it's up to you to judge what you require. Are you going to have a transparent wash or more deep opaque colour, as in the second example? Don't forget, let the first layer dry and then you can add subsequent marks after that. For example, obviously if I start using yellow at the moment while this is still wet, you're going to get the blue turning into a green. Okay? But if I wait for it to dry, the yellow stays pure. Like so. You can still see the transparent marks underneath, and if you want to lose those marks altogether, depends what you require. Sometimes you want to see the underpainting. As I said, painting is layer by layer, like a jigsaw. One jigsaw on top of the next jigsaw. And at the end of the painting, you can see all the layers that you've explored during your journey. So now I'm adding a bit more white to the yellow mixture, and as you can see, you get a different tone, more pastel colour. Obviously, the more white you use, the more you can cover up and overpaint previous marks. So I just wanted to demonstrate how to just mix paint depending on how much water you want and what you require. Sometimes, as I said, we always start fat over lean. So you start, as I mentioned before many times, you start with very thin washes. And as you go along, you start using more paint and less medium, which obviously in acrylic case is the medium is water, the dilution medium. So you imagine this was several layers. So if we was, for example, painting a still life, then you might decide, while it's still wet, to paint into the previous colour. It's your choice whether you paint, you wait for it to dry, or you paint wet into wet, which means the medium, the paint, is still wet when you're applying a second colour. I'm just trying to do a simple pomegranate shape, just to give you a quick demonstration of how we can build up different layers and see some of the colours underneath we can still see. You know, it really depends on what kind of mark you want. If you want the colours to mix together, or if you want the colours to be independent, you have to decide, do I work wet into wet, or do I work over previous layers when the picture is dry, and then you add another dry layer on top of that. So again, don't forget, I always say that you keep exploring all different possibilities until you arrive at your destination, where you feel you've explored every room in the visual labyrinth and you're happy, or at least you feel you've reached some satisfactory result. And as I said, you can see I'm keeping the paint quite fluid, and also the mark making very spontaneous, so it has energy. I'm changing different tonal values. Related to the painting and what I'm trying to capture. So, as you can see, this is just a quick example to give you a sense of, you know, how you develop your picture. And again, one is forever questioning previous marks, judging whether we've created a satisfactory result, whether the marks are honest. When I mean honest, not illustrative, that there's a purity in the mark making. And like any language, to build up your visual vocabulary takes time, and there's no easy quick route other than drawing. Drawing is the key to everything. It's the key to develop your painting, and the more you draw, the more your painting will improve. And as you can see, it's just a rough beginning. I'm just doing this from the imagination, so obviously you should really have the pomegranate in front of you. But you begin to see that you're creating some sense of the subject in front of you. Now obviously this would be from life, but even if you're working from the imagination, the principle remains the same. You have to keep questioning your marks. And you can see you're building up. There's so many marks already in just a few minutes to get to this stage. And the mark making continues, the layers continue, the colour mixing continues. Now, I often mention knocking back, which is cooling down a colour. What I mean by that is, obviously, if I take an orange or a red, it's very bright, very strong. No, a yellow. This is a So they're very bright colours. But as you can see, for example, when we paint a pomegranate, this red would be too bright, too hot. This yellow would be too warm, too hot for the subject. So if we take the yellow, and this is what I mean by knocking back, and if I take a bit of the raw umber, and mix those colours together, it cools that yellow down substantially. Same with the reds and the orange. I've got the orange there. If I want to make it lighter, obviously if I add white to that, if I want to bring that orange down, I can add a darker, colder colour, maybe a blue, and suddenly you've got a new tone. If you've done it too much, if you feel it's too dark or too cold, too dark, not warm enough, obviously mix some more orange into it. But like any recipe, there's many colours and many variations of colour. So it won't, even if you don't want to use pure yellow, the colour you're looking for may be part yellow ochre, a little bit of orange. Maybe those three combinations, and you have to mix those together. Okay? So I'm just trying to show you that not to accept your first statement, your first observation, your first mark, and to build up layers, starting with very transparent layers. When that's dry and you feel like you've created your composition, for example, if I've got like a composition with pomegranate there, lemon there, for example, and that's the canvas size. I always sketch with a brush, but obviously you can use charcoal. Try to use charcoal instead of pencil. It'll help your painting, and it'll help your drawing, and it'll help you free your mark making up. So if we say there's a pomegranate sort of there, and a quince in that position, and over here a mandolin or mandarin. So I've roughly sketched out the composition. And then try to paint in shapes and layers, not paint the whole canvas area in one colour. There'd be many different tonal values, many colours. And then I would probably bring a dark shadow around that area. And then a darker tone, lighter than this tone but darker than that tone. Again, I told you to get used to holding your brush like a drum is a good way of also understanding and developing your mark making and your painting, quality of your painting. And maybe we'll have green base, like so. I'm just doing this very quickly just to try to show you how to build a picture up, whatever the subject may be. And you have to keep questioning your tonal values. You may like to start sketching the beginning of your work, as I said, using pencil, but I would avoid that if you want my advice. I really would stick to charcoal. It really will help you. And so there, you're beginning to start with a basic kind of composition. Firstly, I used a dark raw umber to sketch out the positioning of the objects. Then I blocked in different tonal areas from the lights coming from this direction, so this area is lighter, and obviously this is the shadow side. So as you can see, building up, don't just and then do a circle and colour the circle in with one colour, you know, whatever the subject may be. You know, look at the different planes, look at the different forms that you see. If there's a area that looks like that, paint the area like that. If the next area is a different colour and it's like that, then paint the next area like that. And then if this area is different again, and that, different colours, different marks, different shapes, building a form gradually, step by step. So hopefully I've shown you today how to mix transparent washes, wait for them to dry, then add thicker layers after that. So, you know, you will have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each layer you'll be using less and less water. So at the end, it will be really, the paint will be very opaque and very thick. So you create almost like an oil painting quality. So hopefully that gives you a basic understanding of knocking back colours, which means if they're too hot, if they're too vibrant, if they're too warm, to cool them down by adding blues, browns, greens, purples, whatever colour you may want to use to bring it down. And if you want to add more pastel tones, then obviously you're going to add white to the mixture to create a pastel. This is the original purple. By adding white, I've created a light mauve colour. So again, study this, try to put this into practice in all the projects. Okay? Good luck.